I titled the last video Cinnamon Good for Your Teeth, though that isn't the entire subject of the video.
Coordination that's needed so that we can be able to respond effectively.
How are you personally feeling about the next couple of
Apparently
days?
this is a secret.
Well, in many ways, I am sort of along for the ride, just like all of us, right? We don't know what's going to happen with the verdict, and obviously that's going to have an impact one way or the other in terms of what we see with protests and uprising. So personally, I feel hopeful.
I'm having a pretty decent day today. I
Get through
feel
the next few days.
more peaceful
We're
than
gonna implement some
I did the day
changes that
before yesterday.
will help make sure we don't come back, to this time now, to what we're experiencing. I'm looking forward to being in community with Dante's family as we see him off to a better place.
I'm deleting emails, but then I'm searching on certain words to make sure I don't delete
As well. Because it'll be a reminder.
certain emails like my pay in Sheboygan, my order numbers, my receipts,
Mayor, I've watched you on
nano
international
hearing
television
aids,
for
stuff like
10
that.
days almost now. What's it been like to be in the middle of this tragedy in this horribly difficult time for Minnesota?
All I can do is try and do my best to speak for my community and to speak truth. And that's what I've tried to do. And because until we do that, until all of us are speaking truth and acknowledging the problems that we have within our society, until we do that, we're not going to make any progress, So I think all of us, I had a lady call me.
Satanists are upset that I'm saving key emails.
Forgetting the name of the city. And she said, Mayor, what can I do? What can I do? She's white. And I said, well, there's a food distribution here at our local high school. You can come down and help. And she said, Mayor, I'm going to make the call. And she let me know that she was coming down the next day. And that she was bringing a friend of hers. And when I went to go visit the food distribution center, I saw her. And we hadn't seen pictures of each other. But she said, Mayor, and I said, Judy, and we hugged. And she said, yeah, I'm here with one of my friends. She said, I'm a person of my word, and I'm here to help out. And she drove down to help out. To me, I think that is Minnesota. That is what we need to do, all of us. The changes that need to happen with transformation, transforming, not policing, not law enforcement, transforming public safety. Those changes that need to be done are going to require all of us, white, black, Asian, Latino. It's going to require all of us.
I've got
As
like,
the late
I'm on
Augustine said,
551 to 600 order
Last
emails.
question, do you think Dante Wright's death and George Floyd's death
You feel good. So I turned my own designs into a business. My product is Bowtie. My brand is self-expression, and I am mostbowsmethod.com. Make a different future. Start different.
I don't know how you could possibly protect yourself if you order something on Marketplace. This unethical woman
I believe that it
was
will
charging
be able to
$8 or
succeed.
something
I think
for
this is
12
what we're about last
wooden roses. They were
I'm
carved
committed to
rose
that. My community
petals
is committed to that.
on probably wooden
And I
stems.
think more people are starting to see
And
the
I
truth.
paid my money for them and everything, and she just stiffed me.
We need real reforms in order for us all, board members, together in this community, in this country, to feel safe and to be safe. And everybody deserves that.
There's a jury will now read the verdict, says they will appear in the permanent records.
When I watched the verdict, my immediate reaction was relief. It's not a feeling that we get to feel often.
Find the defendant guilty.
Today was a day where the system did what it was designed to do, and that was provide accountability. Justice is not necessarily something that you can call it when someone is dead, right?
Just leading up to the verdict itself, there was so much anxiety around what because in my community we've seen so many times where an officer has got off. So even though we watched Chauvin kill someone in broad daylight, the certainty of the verdict was completely uncertain.
The emotion I felt when I heard the verdict was not joy. I was relieved in the fact that I didn't have to be even more angry.
To be perfectly honest, I had more anxiety beforehand and worry and mixed with maybe a little bit of hope.
It's a little bit of a relief on my end, just to see that there was justice served. It's sad to say that I think Chauvin is actually bearing the brunt of a lot of officers and incidences that have happened before him.
I can't imagine looking at the situation that's happening in the U.S. and being divorced from it as a member of the diaspora and as somebody who has found themselves pulled out of a car with a police officer here myself.
I have a young son. He's 2 years old. And over the course of the last 2 years, I see the world through his eyes. So for the first time in looking at yet another name, yet another person lost, I didn't envision myself anymore in the videotape. I envisioned my young son. I wanted to rewatch the entire 9+ minutes, so I knew exactly.
So I'm saving
how I felt in
orders
that place when I
probably
saw it
through
for the
December
first time. I counted every single IK
of 2020.
27 of them. As I was watching news coverage and footage of people celebrating in the streets, many of them black people,
I'm over 1,000 emails saved. Some of them are kind of advertisements or not actual orders.
Of justice and a good feeling that, you know what, not everybody's going to get away with this. It might be a message to other officers.
You have to keep fighting. You have to keep trying to make a difference.
It's been a long time, but finally, maybe, we're starting to move in the right direction.
The Satanists really don't want me to save these orders. There's probably a lot that I never got. They're trying to move my hand to the delete button once I select all. On the page with order as the search term. Excuse me.
Jailed, beaten by riot police, or having their families threatened, it's remarkable tonight's protests across Russia drew the thousands of people they did.
Despite of being really terrified, I come here today because if I don't come, if these people don't come, it will be like this for a very, very long time.
I've made a lot of online orders.
Supporters of imprisoned opposition leader Alexei Navalny, and of course for Navalny himself. Thrown in jail after surviving an assassination attempt, he's been mistreated.
Navalny looks just a little bit like Francis McDormand.
Post described himself as being like a skeleton.
It's about people in Russia who do not want to be ruled by murderers and thieves, and that's the people who sit behind that wall in the Kremlin.
Vladimir Kara-Murza is one of the few recognizable opposition figures who hasn't been jailed or fled Russia.
I guess I'm going to do all the orders that are in my mailbox.
Russia's opposition is part of its broader conflict with the West. Without offering any evidence, authorities have said that Alexei Navalny, his organization, and many of his supporters here are working on behalf of the United States.
Earlier in the day, Vladimir Putin suggested recent sanctions and diplomatic expulsions from countries as varied as the U.S., Poland, and the Czech Republic amounted to picking on Russia. He suggested it's become a sport, but warned Russia would respond. Notable tonight, though, was that in Moscow anyway, the riot police didn't resort to their batons nearly as much as they have in the past. Perhaps they didn't need to. With Navalny in jail and authorities moving to declare his political group illegal, this may be the last big public opposition rally Russia sees in a long time. Chris Brown, CBC News, Moscow.
Yikes. So many.
We all know masks are a must, but are we wearing the right one? This doctor says no. She says many Canadians need deep ear N95 masks.
If you have to be in a factory or a mail sorting facility, or you're a teacher in a classroom, these are all crowded, high-risk places, and should be wearing respirators.
That's because there's mounting evidence that the virus mostly spreads through tiny aerosol particles that linger in the air, not mainly through droplets from things like coughing or sneezing that fall to the ground. This paper, published in the medical journal The Lancet, is clear COVID is airborne, and using better masks and ventilation would save lives.
When I'm finished here, I'll take my meds.
Are partly attributable for taking a flawed view of the mode of transmission are huge, huge.
That view, a flashpoint in a recent online panel on the topic.
We need to start treating this for what it is, which is a dominantly aerosol transmitted disease.
Yeah, I would completely disagree with you, Dr. Fisner.
That objection matters. This Canadian doctor is a key advisor to the World Health Organization. He insists current practices are good enough to limit the spread of COVID-19.
Social distancing,
Something about
physical
good
distancing,
enough.
as some call it.
He's a
Hand
ballet
hygiene,
dancer.
disinfection of surfaces. That's where our focus
I think
should
he
be.
is the
This
blonde guy
science,
in
how it's
Witness
transmitted
and The Money
where it
Pit.
goes, it'll get itself sorted out.
But many experts say Dr. John Connolly's stance is hindering the fight to contain the virus.
He does carry a lot of weight with flu, and unfortunately, I think his thinking is still stuck in kind of what we knew 20 or 30 years ago and hasn't really updated.
For his part, Dr. Connolly says he's just one voice among many at the WHO. But as Canada struggles with more contagious variants, calls to treat the virus as primarily airborne now are growing louder. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
It's clean, it's open, we love the forests.
Krista Brown lived in New Brunswick for 3 years. She loved it so much, she decided to move back. She's about to close on a house.
Had I known that there was this neurological disease out there, I probably wouldn't have pursued this purchase.
The property is south of the Acadian Peninsula, where there is a cluster of cases of the new unknown disease. There's another in the Moncton area, for a total of 44 cases. 6 people have died. This man's family believes he has the disease. Doctors are investigating his case. Health officials say
Satanists
the
are really
disease is
anxious
similar
about me
to
saving
what's spelled
my
Yaka,
orders
a
and my
rare
receipts.
brain disease. The
I
those
had
tests came
like
back negative.
4,500
It's
emails,
not a brain tumor, it's not a stroke.
and
it's not
right
a-
now I have
we just wanna know what it is.
1,650
The first case
orders.
traced back to 2015
Well, that
or
fall
so
under
to
the search
emerge
term
in
orders.
2019. But the mysterious disease's existence
I would say about
only
half
became
of them are
public
real
just
orders.
over a month ago, when Radio Canada obtained an internal memo.
It's terrifying and it's infuriating.
Brown is mostly concerned for those battling diseases. She's calling on the provincial government to be more transparent. So far, Public Health hasn't provided any public updates or held any information sessions in the communities affected.
That's extremely troubling. If the government doesn't share these kinds of details, it provides a vacuum where rumors and misinformation can spread.
The government says there will be a website focused on the matter.
It is expected to go live any day. We know that this mysterious illness creates a lot of anxiety.
So instead of celebrating her new home, Brown is still struggling with whether to move at all.
Is it in the water? Is it in the air? Questions that not
She's hoping more information will help her make that decision. Kayla Hounsel, CBC News, Halifax.
Good girl.
Andrea Curry was thrilled to hear Alberta is lowering the age of eligibility for the AstraZeneca vaccine to 40.
Never been so glad to have passed 40 in my life.
But like many Canadians, she found getting an appointment wasn't easy, so she turned her attention to Twitter and Vaccine Hunters Canada.
I just said online appointments available at this pharmacy, and then had a screenshot and a link. So I clicked on the link, and then we were booked.
I kind of just found it online. It was pretty organic.
27-year-old Joshua Calpin got involved after he used the service to book appointments for family members. He's a software developer and now runs the site with 3 other young people.
We're trying to facilitate Canadians helping each other
get vaccine appointments.
Here's how it works. Anyone, anywhere in the country can share information about available appointments, and vaccine hunters will share it on their social media channels. They also try to point individuals in the right direction. The Twitter account is exploding in popularity, with well over 90,000 followers, many of them signing up after news of AstraZeneca's expansion.
It was literally a party on Twitter last night. We had a vaccine party.
Today, their work even got a shout-out from a Saskatchewan member of parliament.
I say every member in this house visit at Vax Hunters Canada to see the good work that is done in each of your communities by these outstanding young Canadians.
Some suggest the government should be paying the vaccine hunters. Not necessary, they say.
We're doing this because for the good of the country and to help the country. And that's reward in itself right now.
Andrea Curry and her husband will be vaccinated within a couple of days.
I just say a heartfelt thank you. I think we all owe you, a debt of gratitude.
She says for her family, it was a valuable tool to help Canadians take one more step toward normal. Kayla Hounsel, CBC News, Halifax.
From the outside, it's hard to get a true sense of the state of BC's hospitals, but those on the front lines will tell you beds are filling up with very sick patients.
Something about this one just really hit hard.
Kendall Scuda posted this photo of herself after an emotional shift at this hospital in Abbotsford. She wanted people not following the rules to know the toll COVID is taking. A patient under the age of 60 died on her shift.
But the patient's close to my parents' age, and so I can't imagine them getting sick and dying. It just breaks my heart.
More tragic still when those dying are even younger. In the past week, a child under the age of 2 and a patient in their 20s died.
Whether you're in your 20s or you're younger or your 30s or your 40s, COVID-19 can be vicious.
This chart shows the number of COVID patients hospitalized during the pandemic, and for now that curve keeps rising. In the past week, hospitalizations have increased more than 20%. ICU admissions are also up more than 35%. Some surgeries have been postponed as a few hospitals have started to use surge beds. Officials say the system has capacity, but doctors say space isn't the only metric to consider.
Lots of people are tired. Lots of people are burning out. Lots of people are wanting to get outside of the COVID world, still provide care somehow.
The good news is the overall case count has started to dip, but even if that trend continues, hospitals will stay busy.
ICU in the hospital will continue to rise for a while because it takes a couple of weeks before cases get that bad that they have to go in the hospital, and then they stay in the hospital for a couple of weeks.
So it will still be some time before the pressure inside here starts to ease. Barbara Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
So for some perspective on this day, what it feels like and crucially what it means, we are joined by Keith Mays, Professor of History and African American Studies at the University of Minnesota, and Tashira Garraway, founder of Families Supporting Families Against Police Violence. And Tashira, we really need to start with you. You went to the courthouse to be there today. You are still out there. What was that moment like for you, and how are you?
I'm okay. So Courtney Ross, which is George Floyd's significant other, she called me and asked me would I be with her today down at the courthouse as she hears the verdict. So we were down there together, we hugged, we cried together, and I'm just grateful to see someone in history get what a lot of families deserve. I think this was the beginning, but I don't think we're finished. I think we got many more officers to get off.
I made a Golden State Mint order recently. I think Satanists were going to try to stop it, and they were hoping that I would delete the email that confirmed my order.
The biggest high-profile cases in history have come from Minnesota, and it's time for a change.
So Keith, just listening to what Tashira is saying, all the perspective of this day, legally, yes, this day was about accountability for George Floyd's murder, but as Tashira says, there's so much more to it. Can you help round that out for us?
Tashira is absolutely right, because this is the culmination of justice for the Floyd family and for the community at large. But
The
this
words
is only
order,
the beginning.
receipt.
The question becomes, what's next? Are we really going to transform police departments not only
Haven't
in the Twin
pulled up
Cities
every
and in
order
the
that I've
state, but
made.
around the country?
I think it
What are
depends
we
on which
going to
word
do?
that word you're searching on
This
is
has been
in the email
politicized
subject
way too
line.
long. We need to do what's right by families who have lost loved ones, and we need to do right by history.
So can you help us with some specifics here, both of you, but Tashira, we'll start with you. What specifically will it take for justice to actually feel like justice?
It will take all of the rest of the officers for all of the hundreds of murders that led up to George Floyd to be held accountable. There's been over 470 murders at the hands of law enforcement here in the state of Minnesota in the last 20 years. Almost 500 bodies, and only one man has been held accountable, and that's a minority man that killed a white woman, Justine Amon. So up until today with George Floyd, but there's hundreds of more murders of black men that led up to George Floyd. The biggest and the highest high-profile cases in the world have come from the state of Minnesota. George Floyd, Philando Castile, Jamar Clark, Dante Wright. So it's a clear indication that this place has an issue here in Minnesota. And for every high-profile
I just want to
case,
get my
there's
inbox
100
down to
murders
less than
behind
1,000,
every high-profile
and I'll
case
save the
that you see.
1,000.
And so it will take all of the, because that was only one man. We got hundreds of more officers out here. And the only reason why George Floyd's case wasn't swept under the rug like the rest of our families and covered up is because it went Facebook Live and it spread everywhere, and they weren't able to cover it up.
Yeah, there seem to be a lot of orders that didn't fall under the search term order.
Under federal investigation. And I've been stalked, I've been harassed, I've been followed. All these things by the police for fighting for my family and helping other families. That's why I started my organization.
Now I'm doing a
Family
search under
Support
the word
Families Against
delivered.
Police Violence, because I wanted to give resources and support to those families. And right now, the state doesn't help those families with anything, and my organization is the only one that does, along with Communities United Against Police Brutality.
And Keith, when you said that there's a model that you're looking for, again, can you help us understand specifically what it takes to have this justice feel like it?
We're just saying that for traffic stops or for any small, slight misdemeanors, you don't have to have a cop show up with a Glock. Or cops who think that they have their hands on tasers, but they have their hands on the service revolvers. You can have people who are equipped to deal with issues around domestic violence, mental health issues. I think that we have to be smarter about community policing. And that
Satanists have been nagging me about all the emails I have. I only used up half my mailbox memory allotted. But I feel like a lot of my emails are getting lost. I have to do search words. I have to do searches on certain terms.
Results in murder. We have to stop this.
One last question.
Like nano, to find my nanos, because when I scroll through I don't find them. Okay. God's having me order that strawberry whey protein after all. I will. I will. So I still may have used up the same amount of space, memory in the mailbox, but at least it's not in my inbox. So I should be able to sort out my inbox. I don't know why St. are so anxious about this. Because Paul gets the same email I do. I mean, we share email. I really don't know why St. are so anxious about this. Well, I'm going to leave my email. It's got 1,209 down from about 4,500. I had a dentist in Bakersfield, California, that put fillings in perfectly good, solid teeth that had no cavities. Really bothered me. It's a big deal, the cinnamon business, I guess. I don't know what embedding a tweet means. So, Colesville. I don't know. Somebody's saying that I like strawberry now. Strawberry ice cream, strawberries, stuff like that. That it's a sign of waking up. When children of God like things they haven't liked before or something. Oopsie, 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 oops. God may want me to have a lot of this whey protein. It's Body Fortress Super Advanced Strawberry Whey Protein Powder. And Body Fortress Vanilla Whey Protein Powder. I'll see if I have enough money for it. On EBT. Oh, I assume it's, yeah, it should be EBT. So I'm back up to $163. That leaves me about $60 on EBT if I buy all these things. I'm going to stop recording and upload this, and I have to use the restroom. So I'll be back in a minute.